Hey guys, welcome to Realm of Whispers. Tonight, we'll drift through the quiet workings of a future world, noticing what continues softly while we sleep. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just allow yourself to settle, as this world gently carries on, calm, steady, and unhurried, while you rest. Above a dimly lit landscape, structures glow with a softened light, as if remembering daylight without needing it. The air rests cool and even, moving slowly across advanced terrain that has long since learned the comfort of night. Distant lights remain steady beneath a darkened sky, and the world waits in a state of peaceful continuation. Across the future city, power does not end, it only eases, flowing gently into quieter pathways as the night deepens and every structure begins its familiar unwinding. Towers dimming by careful degrees until their light becomes soft enough to rest upon. Suspended walkways lowering their glow until reflections blur into smooth, patient surfaces shaped by years of calm passage, and as human presence fades into sleep, energy turns inward, moving without haste through layered systems that have learned this rhythm so completely that no signal is required. No command given, only the certainty of continuation. The city exhaling brightness and allowing it to drift upward into the dark sky where it dissolves without resistance. While far beneath the streets, deep reservoirs of stored warmth and light remain balanced and unchanging, neither increasing nor draining, simply holding their quiet equilibrium, and along curved horizons, windows fade from clear to opaque. Privacy returning like a remembered comfort, corridors empty without feeling abandoned, elevators resting between destinations as if pausing mid-thought, and ventilation currents soften until the air itself seems to slow, carrying coolness evenly across every level, through residential spires, archival halls, silent transit lines, and long galleries of unvisited space, all of it synchronized not by urgency but by habit, by centuries of nights passing exactly like this one, where sensors register absence and respond with gentleness, where grids reroute excess power away from visible spaces and into maintenance loops that hum at frequencies barely felt, and the city's outer shell adjusts its thermal skin, releasing stored heat in slow, even waves that rise and vanish into the atmosphere, leaving behind a comfortable stillness. And as illumination settles into its lowest resting state, emergency systems remain alert without tension, standing quietly behind the veil of sleep, not waiting for disruption, only continuing their calm watch, while transport arteries beneath the surface quiet their magnetic fields, reducing vibration until motion becomes memory, and signage dims until symbols soften into abstract shapes, readable only by machines that do not tire, and through it all, time passes without measurement, marked only by the gradual deepening of shadows and the steady persistence of structure, the city no longer announcing itself, no longer performing, simply existing in its night form, complete and sufficient and quietly. The systems continued their work. Beyond the resting city, automated systems extend outward into the surrounding environment, where balance is maintained not through intervention but through memory, layers of infrastructure responding to the night as they always have, with movements so small they feel like stillness. Atmospheric regulators easing the flow of cooled air across wide expanses of terrain, allowing temperatures to settle into familiar ranges that require no correction, only observation and beneath the surface. Slow-moving circulatory channels redistribute moisture and minerals through the ground with patient regularity, ensuring that nothing gathers too much and nothing is left without, while structural supports anchored deep below adjust their tension by fractions too subtle to notice, responding to shifts that happen gradually, predictably, over long stretches of time, and above, protective fields thin slightly as cosmic activity quiets, their luminous outlines fading until they blend seamlessly with the dark, no longer visible, only present, and across distant platforms and satellite arrays. Rotational systems reduce their pace, aligning with the planet's slower nocturnal spin, conserving energy without effort, without pause, simply following a rhythm established long ago, while data flows continue beneath it all, not accumulating, not pressing forward, but circulating calmly through closed loops that refresh themselves and return to their starting points. Information passing like a gentle tide that never rises, never falls, and in open expanses between structures. Light-sensitive surfaces adjust their reflectivity, absorbing the remaining glow and releasing it as a faint warmth that lingers just above the ground, creating an even, restful layer of night air. And far from habitation, autonomous maintenance units settle into low-motion states, joints relaxed, sensors dimmed, their presence blending into the landscape until they are indistinguishable from the architecture they serve. And through every system, redundancy remains quietly intact, not as preparation, but as reassurance. Pathways layered beneath pathways, ready without expectation, while clocks embedded deep within the world slow their marking, stretching moments into long, unbroken continuums that feel the same from beginning to end. And as the planet turns, nothing strains to keep up, nothing falls behind. All processes unfolding at the exact pace they were designed to follow, and in the absence of attention, the environment feels fuller, steadier, held together by countless gentle adjustments that never announce themselves, never demand awareness, and beneath it all, the future remained in balance. Within enclosed habitats and artificial ecosystems, night does not arrive suddenly. It arrives as a soft agreement between systems that have learned how to share time, light and rest, and as illumination fades to its lowest resting glow, layered canopies adjust their translucence, allowing stored warmth to settle gently through tiers of engineered soil and root networks that spread calmly beneath smooth surfaces. Moisture drifting downward in slow, predictable paths, guided by gravity and design rather than urgency, while nutrient streams circulate through hidden channels at a reduced pace, touching every growth layer with equal patience, never rushing, never lingering too long. And above these living structures, atmospheric balances remain steady. Oxygen levels held in quiet harmony with carbon exchange that unfolds continuously without emphasis. Leaves and synthetic membranes responding almost imperceptibly, expanding and relaxing in cycles so slow they resemble stillness. And throughout these spaces, pollination systems pause their visible motion while internal processes continue uninterrupted, cellular exchanges proceeding without sound or signal, each component trusting the others to maintain the whole. And along habitat walls, temperature gradients smooth themselves out, warm and cool zones blending gently until the air feels even and settled, as if the environment itself has exhaled, while bioluminescent markers dim to faint traces, not to disappear, but to remain softly present, offering orientation without drawing attention. And beneath walkable surfaces, microbial matrices continue their quiet labor, breaking down excess material, redistributing elements back into circulation, ensuring nothing accumulates and nothing is lost. And further inward, control lattice monitor without reacting, sensing stability and allowing it to persist unaltered, while water reservoirs rest beneath transparent layers, their surfaces undisturbed, currents slowing until reflections hold steady, mirroring dim structural lights above that no longer flicker. And throughout the ecosystem, time becomes diffuse, measured not by change but by continuity, by the assurance that every cycle knows where it is within the larger rhythm. And as night deepens, these artificial landscapes feel neither constructed nor managed, but simply present, self-contained and sufficient, holding their shape and function with quiet confidence, and in the stillness, everything carried on. Across the deeper layers of the future world, time-worn technologies continue their patient cycles. Devices shaped by decades of refinement resting into states of minimal expression, where function remains intact without display, and along vast subterranean corridors, conduits lined with adaptive materials subtly recalibrate their internal alignment, responding to minute thermal changes that occur as the planet cools. Each adjustment so slight it leaves no trace, while crystalline processes embedded within ancient frameworks pulse at a softened tempo, their internal rhythms stretching into longer intervals, conserving motion without ever stopping. And nearby, memory archives settle into steady equilibrium, data held not as urgency but as presence, layers upon layers resting in silent coherence, never accessed, never forgotten, simply maintained. And in chambers where once bright interfaces have dimmed to a gentle sheen, surfaces retain the faint warmth of earlier activity, releasing it gradually into the surrounding air, which drifts slowly through vents designed to whisper rather than move, carrying comfort evenly across stone and composite alike, while maintenance lattice embedded within walls performs silent integrity checks, scanning structures not for threat but for reassurance, confirming that everything remains as it should and far beyond human reach. Orbital relays align themselves with predictable precision, their ancient joints easing into night orientation, solar arrays folding just enough to rest, reflective skins darkening until they resembled the sky itself. And beneath these systems, power pathways reroute energy along familiar loops that have repeated this motion through countless nights, each cycle smoothing where rather than creating it. And as the hours pass without notice, calibration fields hold steady, correcting drift so gradually that the concept of error dissolves, replaced by continuity, while clocks housed in protected cores slow their signaling, allowing moments to lengthen until time feels wide and unpressured. And through it all, nothing asserts itself, nothing demands renewal. These technologies, having learned long ago that endurance comes from gentleness, from allowing motion to soften without ever disappearing. And within this quiet persistence, the future rests comfortably upon its own foundations, unchanged, untroubled, and quietly. The systems continued their work, above and around the settled world. Environmental shields and planetary boundaries make their nightly adjustments with unhurried precision. Layers of protection thinning and thickening by gentle degrees as stellar conditions soften, responding not to alerts but to patterns remembered across generations of calm nights. Magnetic contours easing their tension as solar influence wanes, allowing charged particles to slide past in quiet arcs that leave no mark, while atmospheric filters adjust their permeability, releasing accumulated warmth upward in slow, even gradients that never feel like loss, only release. And across high-altitude platforms, reflective veils rotate fractionally, aligning with the planet's shadow so that light is neither trapped nor scattered, simply guided away until darkness feels complete and comfortable. And far below, coastal barriers and climate moderators maintain their steady exchange with oceans and plains, currents flowing at reduced strength, tides smoothing themselves into long, gentle movements that touch shorelines without sound, while wind guidance arrays relax their influence, letting air settle into broad, slow circulations that drift without direction, carrying coolness evenly across continents. And within polar fields and desert expanses alike, thermal regulators hold the ground in balanced quiet, preventing extremes without correction, holding the night exactly as it prefers to be, and deeper still. Seismic dampening grids remain alert without tension, listening to the planet's internal murmur and responding only by remaining ready, never interrupting, never intervening. Simply present beneath layers of stone and time, while cloud-seeding systems rest in passive harmony, allowing skies to remain clear or softly veiled as they already are, unchanged by desire or schedule. And across this vast enclosure, nothing presses inward, nothing escapes outward. The world held gently within its own understanding of stability, each boundary aware of the others, each layer trusting the whole. And as the planet continues its slow rotation, shields follow without effort, maintaining alignment so smoothly that motion becomes indistinguishable from stillness. And within this protective quiet, the surface rests without concern, knowing it is neither exposed nor confined, simply supported, and beneath it all, the future remained in balance. As the long night continues, the future world settles into its deepest rhythm, where all cycles overlap so smoothly that their boundaries dissolve. And across vast stretches of land, sea, and structure, slow processes align into a single, unbroken continuity. Power flows matching environmental balance matching internal systems, each layer reflecting the calm of the others. And beneath city foundations and natural plains alike, planetary circulation moves with ancient patience, heat drifting outward from inner depths in barely perceptible gradients, pressure equalizing itself without instruction, while gravity-bound assemblies adjust their orientation by fractions that feel more like breathing than motion. And across oceans shaped by both nature and design, currents slide along familiar paths, guided gently by submerged frameworks that do not direct so much as accompany, allowing water to move as it always has, steady and unhurried, while above, the sky remains clear and constant, stars holding their positions relative to softly turning horizons, light arriving from distant ages and resting briefly upon surfaces that accept it without reflection or demand. And within all inhabited structures, internal environments remain unchanged, temperatures steady, air composition held in quiet harmony, sound absorbed into materials designed to soften rather than block, creating spaces where stillness feels complete and uninterrupted. And far from habitation, autonomous landscapes continue their patient self-regulation, soil renewing itself grain by grain, synthetic forests maintaining spacing and density without growth or decay rushing ahead, each element aware only of its immediate balance. And time itself seems to loosen its grip, moments flowing into one another without markers, without urgency, as if the world has agreed collectively to rest in the same extended instant, while beneath every visible surface, unseen frameworks maintain alignment, stress distributed evenly, motion absorbed before it can be felt, ensuring that nothing shifts abruptly, nothing startles the calm. And as the planet completes another small portion of its endless turn, systems neither acknowledge nor record it, because continuation is already assured. And in this deep, encompassing quiet, the future does not wait for morning, does not anticipate change, it simply remains whole and settled, carrying its gentle processes forward without effort, without interruption, and in the stillness, everything carried on. And so, our journey through the quiet workings of this future world comes to an end. But the systems of tomorrow never truly rest. They continue softly, patiently, even as we sleep. In our next journey, we will drift into another gentle process shaped by time, technology, and night. Until then, may the calm rhythm of this future follow you into your rest, and may you wake peaceful, steady, and renewed. Good night.